I'm continuing my discussion of the Trump indictment, and I want to highlight this phrase: enlist the vice president to use his ceremonial role to fraudulently alter the election results. First of all, nobody asked Mike Pence to alter any election results. The claim to Mike Pence is you have the authority under the Constitution to not accept these electors, but for the time being, return the matter to the states to review the election results in those states. Remember, there was a lot of pending turmoil in the swing states, and the idea was, hey, listen, you haven't been able to truly adjudicate. You haven't had time to figure out whether or not the votes in these states were fully and accurately counted. So all that Vice President Pence would be doing is saying, listen, take a second look and then send the results back to us. And the question is, does Mike Pence have that authority? Now, there are some judges, Michael Luttig being a good example. This is an old kind of never-Trumper who insists that Mike Pence does not have that authority. But there are other people, other jurists, other attorneys, other specialists in constitutional law who believe that Mike Pence did or might have that authority. Anyway, this is what Mike Pence was being asked to do. But the idea that he was being told to fraudulently alter the results, as in change the results himself, this is, as far as I can tell, quite false, not true at all. And then the indictment goes on to what I would call the procession of people who notified Trump that they did not think the election was stolen. Now, we know about these people. We know they didn't think the election was stolen. Let's start with Bill Barr. Bill Barr says the election wasn't stolen. What evidence has Bill Barr ever produced to show that? What is the basis for him coming to such a solemn conclusion? I mean, there are all these anomalies. There are all these problems. There was a lot of stuff that was even shown on videotape. There was the stopping of the count. All of this going on. And yet here this guy comes up. This was very similar to me, like Bill Barr saying, I've seen no evidence that Jeffrey Epstein didn't kill himself. Well, here's Jeffrey Epstein. He's sitting in prison. He's supposed to be under guard. Mysteriously, the guards who are watching him leave. Mysteriously, Jeffrey Epstein has the means to hang himself. Mysteriously, the cameras that are supposed to be recording Jeffrey Epstein in his cell don't function. But Bill Barr just goes, I don't see any reason. I mean, all you have here is a sort of obese porpoise giving you a kind of nodding assurance. But where's the evidence? What reason is there to believe this oaf? So what I'm getting at here is that we're now coming to a point in the indictment where it is a sort of presumption of the indictment that because various assorted people, some of them admittedly in Trump's own administration, told him that they didn't believe that the election was stolen, therefore Trump knew, or perhaps they're going to argue should have known, that the election wasn't stolen. Now, this is a giant non sequitur. It's a giant non sequitur because the Trump campaign can produce, and I'm sure will produce, an equally long list of prominent people in all walks of life. I'll give you a few names. Here is John Eastman, specialist in constitutional law, regarded as one of the leading constitutional lawyers in the country. Sidney Powell, who had a pretty stellar reputation as an attorney, won important cases. Sidney Powell was telling Trump the election is stolen. There were many other people saying the same thing. Rudy Giuliani, by the way, here you go. This is a guy who was America's mayor, a very prominent attorney in his own right, a nationally recognized prosecutor who had put major, not only mafia bosses, but also financial crime figures behind bars. Here's Giuliani saying the same thing. And so you got one group of people saying X, and you've got another group of people saying Y. Now, why is it that Trump is compelled to believe one group over the other? Let's look at the group that's mentioned by Jack Smith. The vice president told the defendant he had seen no evidence of fraud. Now, this is a joke because Mike Pence didn't move his little finger to seek out any evidence. Mike Pence was just basically your kind of accompanying goofball who declares, I don't see any evidence. Well, I mean, yeah, if you're sitting in your office and twiddling your thumbs, which is apparently what both Bill Barr and Mike Pence were doing, you didn't see any evidence. What efforts did you make to seek them out? And the answer is none. Senior leaders of the Justice Department. Now, right away, we have to pause. This is a Justice Department that was itself relentlessly against Trump. Think of Rod Rosenstein. Think of all the people who had been working to stir up the Mueller investigation, to undermine Trump from within his own Justice Department. Like it or not, Trump had a hostile Justice Department. Initially, he had an attorney general who did basically nothing, and then he got Bill Barr, who at some points appeared to be sympathetic to Trump, but then turned actively and is now vehemently hostile to Trump. Certainly Comey at the FBI has to be counted as an enemy of Trump. In fact, he tried to set up Trump and the Trumpsters. He tried to set up Michael Flynn from the very beginning. CISA, can you believe that they're invoking the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Agency? This is an organization thoroughly captive to the left. These are the people who declared the 2020 election, and you have to pause for a guffaw, quote, the most secure election in history. As we get older, the aches and pains start kicking in, but fortunately there is a remedy, and it's called Relief Factor. Debbie and I started taking Relief Factor a couple of years ago. We've seen a huge difference in our joints, nothing short of amazing. Aches and pains are totally gone thanks to this 100% drug-free solution called Relief Factor. How does it work? Relief Factor supports your body's fight against inflammation. That's the source of aches and pains. The vast majority of people who try Relief Factor become regular customers. They order more because it works for them. Debbie's a true believer. She can now do exercises, push-ups, planks, and so on that for several years she wasn't able to do. So Relief Factor has been a big game changer for her, her aunt, other members of our family, Mike here in the studio, and for many other people. You too can benefit. Try it for yourself. Order the 3-week quick start for the discounted price of just $19.95. Go to relieffactor.com or you call 800-4-RELIEF to find out more about this offer. The number again, 800-4-RELIEF, or go to relieffactor.com. Feel the difference.